Hi, my name is Sally Bernard, an artist, author, and spiritual experiencer. Welcome to Call Me Zena, a true story into the spiritual realms. Join me as I sit and discuss the journey of self-discovery, and with the help of my spirit guides, it's time to trust your intuition. Sit with me and call in live 888-994-4995, Studio A. And now onto the show. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Boy, we had a lot of synchronicities before the show. Just to say, the show today is actually, and I had said to Steve in the car, welcome everybody, by the way, that we need to do a show on words because it's really important and to stay on a higher vibration energy when we talk about something. And then sure enough, I come into the studio and what are they talking about? Wendy, you were doing a show on words. So none of this is, I have no idea ever what I'm going to talk about, but that was one of the few times when I said, let's talk about words and the power behind words, actually. So it's a continuation from what you were talking about before. So welcome, Freddie, Dawn, Wendy, and Steve. Hi. Welcome. Okay, so obviously I need my questions for me to continue.
The word of the day for you is vibrational energy. And if you would, could you explain exactly what that is and the different forms it can take?
Yes, well, associating it with words, it's the power that it gives you behind a word. This is just coming to me because words are really important, what we say. We don't stop and think, this is what I'm going to say in a few minutes. It comes out of our mouths. Well, I mean, yes, if you have a script, but it's not the normal way of talking. I'm talking to you and I don't know what's coming out of my mouth the next time necessarily. But we seem to, this is what I'm hearing, echo what's going on with ourselves. So if we're having a subject and we're talking about something that is, well, let's use health for an example, because we all have, oh, was there no recording?
Echo's talking.
Oh, okay. Hi, Echo. You want to say something? Okay, about words. That's fine. But words express our moods, actually. That's what I think I'm trying to say. So if we're in a really funny place and we're very aggravated about something and someone happens to not necessarily call but comes in maybe to the house or even call, we have to kind of, oh, I'm having a bad day, because it's reflecting, which has nothing to do with the other person, but it's reflecting how we're feeling. So I believe that if we can, and subconsciously always try to go to, well, we're having a good day, even if we're not, and I've brought this up many times, and the other person, believe it or not, and I truly believe it, is going to feel what we're saying. So if I say I'm having a really bad day, let's say I'm shopping and I bump into somebody, you don't necessarily have to be an empath. I have that feeling because I'm an empath, but you don't have to be. You're going to feel that person's bad day. So we can't always go around love and light, and, oh, I love you, I love everybody, but we can be aware of what we say, and I think that's really important. So, okay, from there on, let's have another question. It doesn't necessarily have to be about words.
Yeah, I was just going to say, so
I can't look at you, Wendy. So
no, you're good, honey. You're good. So I would say that, being that we all felt this vibration of talking about the magical feelings or the sacredness of the power of words. So when you're channeling or you're receiving messages, Sally, do you find that, how does spirit move through you? How do you hear the words? How does it come through for you?
Well, it's telepathy, because I can't really tell, I feel it. I know what to say because so I don't go, if there's a deeper channeling, I don't know. I really haven't studied too much about anything. I just know that all these things come to me. So right now I'm channeling because I don't know the answers to all these things. It's not necessarily how I speak as I'm walking around. So for me, I said to myself, I must be channeling entities. And of course, I have got a head start here because I know Aldo, and people know who he is always with me. So I'm always inclined to say, well, it's Aldo talking to me. Not always, and I'm not giving enough credit to my spirit guides, actually. They're here. But just a very interesting thing that happened today. I was at home and I needed to take what was my pill now? Because I'm not, what for? It was for something like it was nothing really very much. But I also, once in a while, like everybody does, I have some pill that if I really need to sleep, I will take it once in a while. So I actually I was about to take the wrong pill. I took the pill that would have sent me to sleep. I had it in my hand and I put it in my mouth. It was actually in my mouth. I hadn't swallowed it, I had the water. And as loud as anything, someone said, do not take that pill now. Because I needed to go to bed if I did that. And I said, oh my gosh, I took the wrong pill. So the one that I was going to take, which I took afterwards, were both capsules. So it's important, to listen. So I listen to myself, otherwise I wouldn't be sitting here right now. I'd be sound asleep in bed.
1,000%. 1,000. Do you find that spirit uses different terminology or different types of words from what your normal words would be or your normal way of speaking?
100, as you say, 1,000%. Because people that know me, that I, socialize with, not necessarily here, obviously on the show all the time. I have other people too. And especially one lady in particular, when I first started to do this, she said, and I wasn't aware, I was just talking things that I honestly didn't know that I didn't know these things that we were talking about. And she said, your whole demeanor changed. This is how it all started. Your voice changes. And from here on in, after that, I was very aware that it's only a slight difference, but my voice does change.
Your voice do the actual words
does,
change too?
Yeah, not all the time, but the deeper I go, I think, or if I listen to myself, I don't remember a lot of the time what I'm talking about on my show.
Yeah.
So I don't know, did that answer your question? I was already getting prepared to go deeper into what I guess is a trance. It is.
Go ahead, share with us what was coming through.
But I have to have a question, so you'll have some questions.
Can vibrational energy change the scope of, I guess, a reality or a physical situation?
I believe so, Dawn. Yes, I think it does. Because if words have such an impact, negativity can have an impact. So if you're in a situation, and I always use saying we're having a bad day, but if you continue along that bad day, we're verbalizing it, it's negativity, and we keep passing that on. So words are really important, really important. So even if you're not having a good day, there's nothing wrong in saying, you know what, I'm going to have, because that's in the future. I am having a good day. In that regard, a lot of things that we should be saying that. Or I don't feel well. We all say that. And say, I'm feeling, someone say, how are you feeling? Well, we do say okay, but mean it okay. Even if you're not feeling that great, just mean that you feel okay.
And what would someone see as characteristics of high vibrational energy? Like, can you see it? Is it palpable?
You can feel it. Yes, you can definitely feel it. Even if, and Alder was a very good example of teaching me that, because he would go into Publix. And at that time, I was not understanding as much as I do now, because I'm going back about 20 years. And he would talk to everybody, especially if they looked like they were having a bad day. Hi, how are you? And they smile. And very often people used to say thank you. They could feel that about him. So I have not been as good to do that. I have to be honest about that, but because I thought he was crazy, but I don't now.
So your vibrational energy can affect others in a room?
1,000%.
You can uplift it or the opposite.
Absolutely, and that can work. It works both ways, because if someone is in a bad mood, again, as I'm saying, it's the same thing. You're going to feel that. But I think that you're doing yourself a disservice, because you need to either excuse yourself, which we've talked about before. If you can't do anything about that person's, I'm using a bad day, but it could be anything. Just excuse yourself for that time. You don't need to be, especially if everything is going really great for you. You don't want to hear that. I mean, everybody would know that. You're feeling good, and suddenly this person is, this is wrong, that is wrong. It's going to bring anybody down. You don't have to be an empath for that, right?
Yeah.
But then I have a question. So then we live our life by other people's words?
Well, we don't go around thinking that, Freddie, which I understand.
I'm saying,
however, we do in a lot of ways, because unless we're a hermit or we don't go anywhere, we're meeting other people that do affect our lives, and it's up to us how we handle that. So yes, other people can affect our lives. If you're aware that that's happening, then it's best, I would say, to stay in a positive frame of mind. But not everybody does that, including myself. So people can affect. Yes, of course they can. We're all humans together in this big mess
But
here.
isn't it if you allow it to be?
Well, exactly. That's what I'm saying. It's if you allow it. So I think the more that we're aware that we're allowing it, the less we'll let it happen to us, correct?
Well, then my question to you is my positive words weaker than somebody else's negative words?
Are your positive words weaker than a negative word? I think anything positive is going to be slightly weaker than a negative word, because a negative is a negative. It could not be a bad negative, so to speak.
No, what I'm saying is if the way I think positively is weaker than someone else thinking or saying things negatively.
Oh,
to-
actually, I'm getting another answer. They're equal. They're equal. They're equal. That negativity, because it's going to affect that person the same way that is a positive person, but you're going to get the negative results instead of a positive result. It's a balance. It's a balance. Does that make sense? I have the person who always says, does that make sense to you? He's here with me.
It does not make sense to
So
me.
then ask me, keep going.
I am the firm believer that words sent your way, one way or the other, are secondary to how you see and view yourself.
Well, this is true. This is absolutely
So if I'm
true.
using positive words and somebody else is giving me negative words, then at the end of the day, I say to myself, their words is none of my business.
Yes, but you've got to be, the key to this is the awareness of what's going on. It's not necessarily what that person says. If someone chooses to be negative to you and says something negative about you, it's up to the other person to handle that. If you're in a positive mood, it doesn't matter that it's a negative word. It doesn't matter, because you can change that negative word for yourself.
But then would you believe that your positive words, if you believe them,
Okay?
is more stronger than any negative words being dealt towards you?
It's going to have a stronger influence. Yes.
It has to.
It has to have yes, you're right. It has a stronger
Because
influence.
if that's not true, Sally, then the word fear, somebody installs words of fear.
Right.
That's going to slow you down?
No, not if you have that. Yeah, they can say be fearful, but you can change within you that word. They're going to be fearful, but you don't have to have that fear coming at you. It might be something that everyone say, oh, that's very fearful, but we all look at things differently. Take the news. It's very fearful today. But I may look at that and say, okay, I do that sometimes. I actually listen to the news where a lot of people, like I'm going to say in how we live, don't necessarily. I tune in because I believe that it's important, and this is me, important to know a little about what's going on in the world. But if I feed in, it's negativity that I'm watching, but if I feed into that negativity, now it can change my positivity, if that makes sense. But if I walk and I watch the news or whatever and say to myself, I'm going to observe it, because that's the key. If you observe what you're seeing, then you can have a negative or a positive experience, because you're not really getting caught up in it. You're observing it from an outside point of view. That's what they're telling us.
Something we learned as kids growing up is saying, sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never harm me. I think that's very...
That's very true. Actually, that's very, very true. Because if you allow it,
Right.
then it's going to hurt you. So if you know that you're going into it, let's say some people have to go into negative situations sometimes. This is life. We have negativity here. Then you try to do your best to be aware of it and not let it affect you. Mm-hmm. So that's, to me, still being in a positive state of mind. If you can
It's
still
positive
see and hear
boundaries.
the negativity around you. But it's up to us, exactly, how we handle that.
Well, here's my question. How do we maintain our own energy while we support somebody else going through a difficult time?
And that's a very good question, and it has a lot of answers really to that, because you're going to get caught up. It's the same basically what I'm talking about. You're going to get caught up with, say, their problems because they're discussing it to you. But if you keep yourself in that little, I'm going to say bubble, that's the best way to say it, and you keep that negativity and try not, it can affect you, absolutely, 100%. 1,000%, that it will affect you, because we're human having an experience here. It's how we take it in and how we handle it. And if that person needs comfort, then that positivity is it's you can handle that up to a point. An empath, it's a little difficult and I totally, for me, I know it's difficult. If I'm in negativity situations, I get caught up in it. So I have to say to myself, and I'm in my little bubble, I'm not going to get caught up in it. I will give the best advice that I can, but I'm not knowingly, maybe it's somebody that you might need to hug, depending on the situation. I know as an empath today, I actually can't do that because I'm going to get part of the negativity into me. So I'm very, very aware of it. I haven't been all my life that way. In fact, as a child, and I know this is crazy, but I didn't like anyone hugging me. And so much so, even when you said goodbye, today I don't care if it's a positivity. I would go to a party as a little girl and I'd have to say, oh my God, near the end I'm going to have to hug people. I mean, my higher self was telling me that. And I'm just thinking about that. Oh my gosh, I used to try and leave early so that I didn't have to say goodbye and they wouldn't miss me. There's a crowd of people there. So this is very built in me because I'm an empath.
So the hug is a vibrational energy field?
Yes, it definitely, because any communication of any kind with touch is that. I couldn't look as a little girl. If there was an ambulance coming along, I'd have to, if I wasn't driving, obviously, I'd have to close my eyes because this is me as an empath. I mean, we all take empathic, we're all empathic up to a point, but I guess I'm very empathic. So these bothered
That's
me.
a whole nother story, a whole other questions for that one.
Right.
Yeah, well, last week I probably had my vibrational energy at an all-time high because since I know you and knowing about your travels and astral projection and things like that, I've always wished that I can do it. And I finally traveled. And I believe I was able to do that because my vibrational energy was up at a level that allowed me to do that.
Yeah, two things. One, which I had said, you have to clear your mind completely, but you were very aware of that. And two, yes, if your energy, I'm not going to say I don't know enough about that if you're in a lower vibration, if you can astral project, because I didn't even know what I was doing when I first started doing that many years ago. But I think the main thing is that I had talked to you a lot about what had happened to me and how I was never trained to do it. Just one night I went to sleep and it happened. But there are people that teach you that.
Right, and there's no doubt in my mind that I traveled because
Yeah, you did.
I had the experience.
Right.
But then I woke up at 4 o'clock in the morning and did what we do at 4 o'clock in the morning when we wake up. We came back to bed, and I went right back to where I was.
Right. Oh, you had an experience.
Do you know where you went?
Yeah, I don't know exactly. It was some rural area. It was a meeting. There were 7 of us there. We were all wearing white. Wow. There was a leader in the meeting. We were all newbies who have traveled for the first time. And there was a leader explaining what was going on and the messages we received before we traveled and things like that. There was.
What do you think about that, Sally?
No, I was delighted, and I said, actually, you'll probably change. No, the experience of anybody leaving their body, and you're aware of leaving your body, it does do something different to you. And something did happen that I said, that's because you traveled. I don't remember what it was, but something else happened to you.
I'm not sure.
I can't, but it was a it was a positive, again, it's the words and even the visions.
Right,
It was something positive happened, and I said, that's because you traveled.
Yeah,
But I mean, it's not, but you put you on a higher vibrational.
But an hour ago when I told Wendy about, a little bit about the experience, she said, I can see that there's this light behind you,
Right,
this
right.
aura that didn't exist before.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right, so here's the question. Brian from Boston says, how can I tell the difference between someone who generally has positive energy and someone who's charismatic?
I love that. Yes. Well, I think you have to be charismatic. Certain words I can't say. That happens to be one of them. To have that positive, you are automatically. Excuse me. You did tell me
There
why
you
my
go.
voice goes. Yeah, I'm higher. I'm high vibration. In order to, someone that's really sad, are they going to tell you a joke? I'm having such a bad day. Oh, I've got a joke to tell you. I have to have a drink. Go ahead. You did explain
So I'm
that.
going to ask Wendy, why does her voice do that?
So she's grounded, her being is grounded, and now she's trying to articulate higher frequency messages. So what happens is it's kind of like a crackle effect of the two trying to come through. It's like when your techs are starting to set up, or your interns are setting up speakers, and if they plug it into the wrong place, you either get feedback, or so that's what's happening. So we're going from the grounded, very grounded, to something that's a higher frequency. So they're matching, and then sometimes it'll have that effect where it's kind of like there's a little intersection there.
Thank you for explaining that, because I don't often tell, I don't tell the viewers really what's happening to me. Nearly all the questions you ask me are not, if I was not there, I would be answering them differently, for
Yep.
sure. And you know that. You guys know me.
Yep.
I mean, yes, this is part of who I am, but I am in a different place somewhere else when I'm doing this. So that's why my voice goes. And it happens many times. I'll say on my show, my voice has gone again. Thank you for it.
I got a question about this traveling stuff that
This traveling stuff.
yeah, that Steve did. So I had a dream last night that I was in a giant van of people. So in this van was everybody, I guess, that went to the beach. I don't know. There was people in there that I knew, but I couldn't see their faces. Anyway, long story short of it, I was driving in neutral. What does that mean?
It means you're in balance. Came to me right away. So whatever it was, they were talking to you, but you were very balanced. In other words, you don't remember any of the conversations though, right?
No, everybody kept telling me, go faster, go faster,
Okay, no,
go faster.
you were in the right, actually, I'm going to say that was a very positive dream.
But I was driving, the car was moving, I
Well,
looked
I
down
think
and the shift was in neutral.
Yeah, because that's their way of showing you that you're in balance. Because if you were in reverse, you're going backwards, or you're speeding, you've got your foot on the accelerator. This is just coming to me in my state. You were balanced because you were neutral. It was in neutral. Makes sense.
Or are you just in neutral?
May
You
I-
weren't going forward,
the
you
car
weren't going
was
backwards.
moving.
He was
May
in
I-
the...
The
may I
van,
add
whatever.
something to
That's
that?
all right. You
Sure.
were in. I'm going to say you were in your now. Let everybody else be aware of what they're taking in and what they're talking about. But you were fine. You were doing pretty good in your dream.
Yep, and
Right.
in addition to that, to build upon that, Spirit is saying you feel that there's a certain amount of responsibility to help usher these people who are in the bus or the van with you, and since you're in a neutral space, you're in the in between, so you're right on that, right on the money.
Right.
You're also at a place where people can come and reach you, so you're able to move people from one place to the next, including yourself. So this is a journey that you are in charge of.
And that was the traveling, because
That
you would
was-
feel the sensation of traveling.
You know,
right?
you ladies make me laugh. I woke up saying I wasn't getting anywhere. It was
Obviously.
wanting to get where I wanted to get, and I wasn't moving, because even though we were
Yeah, you could put it
moving
that
and the van was moving, when I looked down, the gearbox was in neutral.
But you're having, the people there were all your opportunities of moving forward. They were there for you, Freddie.
that could be
You're
Yes.
trying to move forward.
That's right.
But at the pace of the collective. So you're
Yeah.
not moving too fast and leaving anybody behind. Sometimes as a teacher, we struggle with trying to put through a message and ushering everybody at the same speed. And to bring in Dana, she would have certain students that would excel and others that would fall behind.
Okay.
So in your case, talking about your dream, Freddie, the way that I'm interpreting it is you had to go a pace, even though you feel like in real life, in our grounded earth here, you want to get certain things accomplished by a certain time. That's your normal MO. I feel like you have something that you're trying to accomplish and bring forward. So there's that. But there's also the awareness that not everybody is moving at the space and the pace that you move at. So there's that sense of I need to move faster, but the acknowledgement on your higher self side that there has to be a certain space so that you don't leave anybody behind.
Thank
At
you.
some point, and it's user friendly. I used that term before. It's at a place where, yeah, you probably want to go faster, but there's an innate understanding that I'm driving this bus. Everybody's relying on me to get us there, and I can't go too fast because I'm going to have somebody with jet lag. See, happens to me too. With the jet lag or car sickness. So you are moving, and it may not feel that way. At some point, Spirit will finally let it move faster into gear. So Spirit is just saying, this is its way to articulate to you that at this moment, this is the proper pace. And I want to say, if I can, they're extending it to that this is the energy for you for the summer. Come fall, things start to, you're actually going to put your car in gear, if that makes sense.
Well, the reason I even brought it up was because Steve had some kind of deal going on. And I wanted to know if this was the same kind of deal that he's going through, that he's witnessing, Sally. In other words, he told you a deal that he went on a voyage or whatever you want to call it. And then, is this my voyage? Am I doing the same kind of?
Because anything that happens to us, we're bringing it forward. So no matter the interpretation of what Wendy just did, an excellent interpretation of this. But, you know, it's still, even though it's our subconscious that's taking over, or our higher self, because we actually go to an astral plane. So all that happens to each one as an individual, we have all different things happening in our lives. So it's really up to us to figure this out too. So you need, although Steve may have had his with his astral projection, and I believe that you definitely were there, you had yours. In a way, it's this, you know, but we interpret actually within ourselves how it's meant to be. So that's gain, back to words and positive thinking, because you can interpret anything you want in any way that you want. But if you're in a positive state of mind, you're going to find that you're going to get more positive things happen to you, because we're attracting those things. If you're in a negative state of mind, more bad things are going to happen to you, because that's what you're attracting. We are, what we speak, what we eat. They're all these things.
And Freddie, I believe that you were in total control of the situation, because you were driving the vehicle, and you're a leader, you're a leader in life, and so you were a leader in your travel, and just the fact that you were in neutral allowed you to keep control.
Well, that's going back to the beginning of the interpretation.
It's so funny, because I was just thinking just the opposite.
Well, we've changed your thinking, but that's still up to you, Freddie. You can still believe.
What were you thinking?
That I wasn't in control. I was in neutral.
Yeah, that's what.
That I wasn't getting anywhere.
But think
you know,
about
sometimes your mind takes you to places, and when you wake up, you never left. Sometimes in life, you think you're making some progress, and you're doing some marvelous things, and then you wake up, and reality is you ain't done anything.
But having had a dream that's something like that, you've got the memory of that now. Sometimes it's really not a dream. This is what's still going on, because it's a seed being planted within you. Exactly. Right. So it's still up to us how we want to interpret that, which brings us back to how words are important. Even telepathy, it's because that's really what we are. We talk telepathically. We just don't realize it. Okay, let's go to something different. Okay.
If you can recommend just one daily habit to help someone live with more positive energy, what would it be?
Put a smile on yourself. Talk to yourself in the mirror and say, I'm doing a great job here, which is something I have never done, but I think I expressed last week even on my show. I was in my bathroom and I said to myself, and I don't do this, but I'm going to, I have done a lot of really amazing things. I wouldn't say that necessarily in public, but as long as you feel that, well, I'm saying it now, right?
You are?
You have to, you know, we judge ourselves actually. So what we do, whether it's anonymously, and we do, you know, some people even donate a lot of money. They don't want to have the credit for that, but they know they've done that, whatever it is. Be kind to yourself. Say good things to yourself, because we are talking. We have a higher self that's listening. And our highest self is our encouragement, and they give us encouragement. It gives us encouragement to do more things. Because if I sit and look in the mirror and I'm crying my eyes out and I don't do anything about it, I'll continue feeling upset.
When I was in a particularly a negative part of my life, words helped me out of it, because what I did was, in lipstick, I wrote on my bathroom mirror, "Who got you into this mess?" And on the bottom, I said, "You're looking at him."
Now that's perfect, but what in the hell were you doing with lipstick?
I had friends.
Okay. Sorry, I shouldn't have said that. I had to say that. Okay, the message was good. I see Freddie laughing. It had to be funny.
That's very funny.
Okay.
Take the power away from what I said.
You know what? humor is also, you
Yeah.
know, I love humor. I love humor. I think, you know, so
Can
it's
I
important.
add a little something to what Freddie was saying? Because that really just stayed with me. Freddie, you're saying that you really don't feel like you were going anywhere, that you weren't in control. I beg to differ. Anytime you're behind the steering wheel, you are in control, whether you're going or not. And we cannot mistake, I'll put it to you this way, the perfect analogy. Women get pregnant, we are pregnant, usually if everything is right, we're pregnant for 9 months. We can't get ahead of that. We can't put the buggy ahead of the horse. So we have to go, one would say, you know, by the end of the last month, I was ready. I was ready to have my son. My hands were falling asleep and the whole bit, I wasn't sleeping right. So 9 months is what you wait, and it feels like a long time. But then by the time the 9 months goes and it's here, you're like, wow, those 9 months went really fast. So it really is perspective where you are and an acknowledgement, oh, okay, so maybe this pace isn't for me. Maybe I can adjust my pace. And so it's an invitation for what do you wish to adjust? So it presents in a way where you can say, you know what, I'm not really crazy about this speed I'm going. I really want to go a little faster. But it's an invitation to see how you can go about doing that.
All right.
Thank
Sally,
you,
want to
Wendy.
take a
Yes.
commercial break?
Yes, we have some more questions.
We got
right?
more questions.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'll see you back on the other side of my show.
A true story, Call Me Zena, is the telling of Sally Bernard. Born in London, England at the end of the Second World War, she came into the U.S. in 1979. A mother of 2 and a grandmother of 4, she settled in Florida and worked in real estate. While going through a difficult time in her life, she was admitted into a hospital overnight in December of 2005. While settling back into her life, she began having vivid dreams and documenting them. By the 3rd dream, a lady gave her a message to draw. With no artistic background or interest into art or history, Sally listened to her dreams and grabbed a paper and crayons. Today, she has over 150 pieces of inspiring art and poetry. This book follows her journey and interpretations of these messages. She describes in detail how she is able to astral a project and who she has met along her travels, including her spirit guides. This book will show you how anything is possible with an open mind. These events have changed Sally's life and direction, and this book will show you how to change yours. Purchase Call Me Zena on Amazon today, authorhouse.com and amazon.com.
Thank you for joining me through this journey of self-discovery with the help of my spirit guides. I'm Sally Bernard, and you can find my book at authorhouse and amazon.com or visit my art on my clothing in my boutique at artbysallybernard.com. Now back to the show. Welcome back. We're here ready for questions.
All right, first let's talk about how people can get your book. Because I think more and more, right, we saw it on the cafe, the sense of spirituality, the greater sense of God. And I can't even say religion, but God as a universal higher
Grand
being,
architect.
right? Grand architect, great. It comes back more and more, right? You were on the midday show with us. I did not know any of those stories until they came forward today. The fact that it all lined up perfectly for you to do this show today,
Yeah, I agree with you.
there is a reason.
It's the synchronicity that's
So let's talk
attached
about
to it.
how people can get your book. You can get the book Call Me Zena on Amazon.com and Author House. You can scan the QR code right here next to me and get the book. But I want to back up to today's show. Why do you think, or why does Spirit say all of these things lined up perfectly for your show today?
They were giving us a message, obviously, because even before I even got here, I was talking about, we were going to talk about words. It's just the validation again. I mean, it lined up beautifully because that was the synchronicity. In fact, I said with the lady that you had on the show that was talking, I said right away to you, Steve, I know her. I'd never met her. But you know that feeling that you know someone? I said, I know her from somewhere. Well, she does. I don't know if she lives in Florida.
She's in Texas.
Texas. And then her name came up. And I also said, I even know this name. I've never met her. As far as I know, I have never met her. But it gets you, it opens up your mind, I'm going to say more, because that synchronicity, we can make that synchronicity, we're aware of it. And the more you're aware of synchronicity, the more actually it seems to happen. You'll suddenly see a license plate in front of you with your initials or a loved one's initials. It goes on and on. So it was just, I think they were letting me know, for me personally, it might be different for other people, that, hey, we're looking forward to your show. Here, this is the start of the intro to the show, because it was all that what we talk about on the show.
It was like this huge runway for this
That's
show
right.
for takeoff,
Yes.
of lining everything up for you
Yep.
in synchronicity.
That's right. Maybe there are more people that were listening to your lunchtime show with her talking, saying, oh, let's carry on with this and let's tune into Sally's show, because it's called Me Zena, but I am Sally. That's another story which we can talk about. So it's opening people's minds up, because then they're suddenly aware. They wouldn't know quite the synchronicity, because I didn't even know this lady or who it was, and you didn't. So the synchronicity for us was even greater. But there might have been someone watching that show who needed to hear a little bit more of what we're talking about, no matter what the subject is, just to know that there is something greater than ourselves out there that is, we're tuning into it.
Do you think there's a grand plan to everyone's life? Is there a master plan?
Well,
for us
there's a
to-
collective, if you want to
Okay.
call that a collective. There's a collective plan, because what we think, what I'm even talking about now, other people are also that are not necessarily tuned into me thinking of the same thing. So, in fact, there's a grand plan going on right now. I'm going to say the light and the dark, the good and the bad, however you want to say it. But the more people that are, again, that positivity is so important, is the more people that tune into the positivity of that situation. It's a collective, and it goes out, and it can even go out to the ones that don't want it to happen, but at least we're doing our job and we're sending it out there through whatever. We don't see the waves going around us, but there's many aspects of that. So that's why it's even more important to stay up, because there is a grand scheme to what, I'm not a schemer, it's maybe the wrong word, but there is a grand plan. And in order for it to turn out the correct way, and that's why they got me deeper, is to believe and know that everything is going to be okay. And that's so important, and that's part of what's happening right now, the grand
So if you
plan.
tie the grand plan into Freddie's dream of being in neutral, and to Wendy saying this is just the vibe of the summer, it comes down to faith.
100%. To know that there is something greater going on than what we perceive. But the good news is, the more you perceive it, the more you're going to see it. And you can see, and that goes for the light and the dark or whatever, because the more you get tuned in with the dark, you need to know every parts of a story, to be honest with you, the good, bad, and the indifferent, because then you can make your own judgment. Without knowing every aspect of what's going on, you can't judge really what you're going to be doing. So the more higher vibration put out, more the things will happen that you'll be able to see. If you feed into that, and it's okay to feed into negativity. It's your attitude that changes you. We have to know the good, bad, and indifferent, but stay a little clearer of that. Know what's going on so that you're able to not tune into it, because it may be something that you don't like. That's why I listen to the news more than most people do in the situation that I've become accustomed to, because I like to know what's going on. I don't want to not know what's going on.
Sally, forgive me for bringing this up, and if you don't want to talk about it, I understand, but tomorrow is the 4th anniversary of the transitioning of your beloved daughter, Louise Caroline. And in what way do the messages you get from Louise Caroline help you in your daily life?
Well, I know that she's watching me. I mean, you have often said that you see her and they're going to make me cry, so. But I accept what happened. When we transition, we go to a different place. In our, so to speak, in our persona is different. We're still the same soul. So I believe that it's hard for me to talk about it.
Okay.
I
know very, very often we'll be driving in the car and we'll see her initials on license plates. And
that's her way of showing that she's still around, and I'm a big believer in that. I don't
She's in your
truly
team.
don't get so. She is, yes.
She is very much so part of your
that's
team.
actually who I was going to ask. You now know, but that's okay. Yes, she is. I agree that, because when she was born, I know my grandson is listening because he's coming to come visit next week, but they actually said to me when I had Louise, I had a nanny for it. We had those in those days to look after for a month, who had been with many, many babies. And she said to me, this baby is different. is very different. And she was very different, good and bad, but she was very different. And she chose at a younger age to leave here and transition into another place. But she'll be back, just like we all will.
All right, question. Finally, Linda from New York. How can I protect my energy without pushing away family members that I love?
Okay, so you can still protect.
Because you walk into a room and everyone's negative.
That's true, and that's true. But it's up to us how we handle that. I'm going to say be diplomatic. Just you might greet somebody, and remember, if you're negative, family or not, it doesn't matter. If you don't like that person, for whatever reason it is, that person's not going to particularly like you too, because something has happened to bring that about. If you don't know the person and you feel that negativity, there is no need to really talk to that person. You can move away, which a lot of people would say probably talk to them because that could be karma. But if it really affects you, you don't have to. Maybe in a situation where it's someone close to you or a family member, you may have to do something, but it's not usually one-sided, these situations, actually. They're probably both-sided. That's what they're saying to me.
So yesterday I was someplace and I knew I didn't want to sit in a certain room because the energy in this room makes me feel a little wonky. So I sat someplace else. By the end of the day, I was wonkier than if I had even just sat in that room. So I don't even know if you need to physically be in visual.
No, you're still going to get it.
You're still going to get it.
You're still going to get it. In fact, I was telling Steve the other day about Aldo, and I knew him for 20-something years. And if I ever, once in a while, we would maybe go out very rarely to eat together because it was a different type of relationship, but he would actually walk around the whole restaurant before he would even enter, and he would do this and go back there to make sure that he could enter.
So for me, yesterday, I had to go home and go in the pool.
But I was going to say, or take a shower, anything.
I had to do both.
Yes.
Because.
But that was real what you were experiencing, Dawn. It's definitely there.
And I never go in the pool.
It's like cleansing yourself from
I
that.
had to go in the pool.
Yeah.
I had to go under the water. Like I had to take a shower.
Well, you did the right thing, actually.
Dawn, please define wonky.
Wonky. It's just feeling a little bit off kilter and not yourself. But you know you're not feeling yourself. So do you ever have a situation where you know something's going to set you off, but you have to do it anyway?
Yeah.
So wonky. So I know it's going to make me feel a little sideways.
Yep, but you know what? You're still ahead of this because
I know it's coming.
And you're aware of how you're going to feel. You can walk into a room and not understand any of this and say, oh my gosh, I was feeling so good. Why am I feeling so bad suddenly? Because that energy of that negativity is coming towards you. But at least we know that. So we have some reason to either escape from it if we can, or if you can't, try to just know what it is, and eventually it'll go.
So for people listening, water is cleansing for me.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. But I think it is anyway, just because you're getting that, it's like a vibration, but you want to wash it away type of thing. But just knowing that maybe you're doing that is what helps you, because you say to myself, oh, I'm getting rid of all this, I'm washing it away.
Right.
So whatever works for you. I mean,
For me, it's chocolate.
For you, it's chocolate?
Well, I was just going to say sage even. You walk around, you know and believe, because it's just really a tool if you think about it, but you're attaching yourself to that, so you believe that you're saging a place and you're cleansing the energy. So you are, because you believe that. It's all about belief.
Can I add a little something to that? I want to say that the tool that's popping into my mind that kind of can help out. First of all, I want to mention the topic, highly sensitive people. So there are those of us who are way more than just empathetic. We are very sensitive to the energies that are out there. So one of the things that you can try, Dawn, imagine yourself, you're going into that room, you're already aware that you're going to walk into something and you don't want to catch fleas. So think about when we go out into the cold, you put on a sweater. So in your visualization, you can imagine putting on a sweater or a cloaking device. I'm impervious to these energies. Use an affirmation, because now you're putting your frequency of your thoughts, your frequency of your words, and the frequency of all of that. And you're actually, there it is again, you're actually able to give yourself a buffer space. So it won't have as much an effect. we talked about before we got here, I had already sent in the angels, hey, clear out the space.
Right.
So you're already putting yourself in a proactive space. So you're taking control and able to put in and
So-
see how that works. The more you practice, it's like abs. You'll build it, and you'll find that you'll start to remove yourself a little bit
So
more.
the main thing is to have that awareness around you, because without
1000%.
that, you're not going to be able to do anything. And you know better. Okay?
I know better, Mom.
Daughter.
I know.
You said mom, and I said daughter. We said that exactly.
Well, I guess here's a perfect question. Karen from Nashville, Tennessee. Can our homes hold energy? And if so, how do we create a more peaceful
Okay,
environment?
1,000% homes. In
They
fact,
do.
when I first moved into the house that we're in now, I'm somebody that likes to put everything away and do everything until I'm absolutely exhausted and cannot do anymore. It was 2 a.m. I put my head down on that pillow and said, okay, I have to stop doing that. My alarm goes off at the smoke alarm thing. There was no smoke. And suddenly, and I didn't know, I'm by myself. I had no idea how to even take it out of the wall. But the moment because the energy from the other people was still there. Now, can you clear that? Yes, because again, you can use sage or just say whatever you want to clear it. But it holds imprints of what's around you. Sitting on this chair, the next person sitting here will probably start crying, but we do hold a certain amount of imprints which are around us.
Which is why it's wonderful that where we're moving, it's a total refurb.
Yes,
and
exactly.
all
Yeah, it's
the negative
refurbed.
vibes will be
Yeah.
taken out.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah.
Next question. How do I know, this is Robert from Denver, how do I know if I'm following my intuition or simply overthinking a situation?
Okay, that's also a good question. It's again how you feel. It's an interpretation of. Can you just give me the last part again? I'm trying.
How do I know if it's intuition or if I'm overthinking?
Okay, well, they're both very similar in a way, because intuition to me is still a type of. It's intuition. You get a gut feeling, but when you get that gut feeling, you get your imagination in there. So either way, the answer is it's not too different. Either I think the problem is getting the last part of that. Can you?
Overthinking.
I'm overthinking it. Absolutely, that's exactly what happened. They're showing me what overthinking does. I normally answer in a second, right? And sometimes I ask you to repeat it. I was overthinking it. So there's a difference. They're saying to me there's a difference with overthinking or the other way around. You just, it's like it's something you feel. Yeah. Wow, that was strange.
When you're overthinking, it feels like the thoughts or the energy comes in a little more confused.
Correct.
When you're in that space of inspiration, it just flows differently. It doesn't feel like it's a hiccup in your being.
And this is true because, I started to paint. It's a strange example, but I didn't overthink when I just suddenly came to me. That was my intuition to start painting. Something I heard the message, and it did speak to me in words, go and get some crayons and start drawing. But had I have overthought that and said, I can't do this is impossible. I can't paint, I've never drawn anything in my life. I started to draw and I'm doing intricate things. I wasn't using that as an answer for me. If I'd overthought that, I'd say, obviously, I can't draw, so what is this all about? But I put that aside and used my intuition, and my guidance.
Showed up.
And showed up.
All right, Patricia from Atlanta, Georgia. Can forgiveness actually change our energy, even if the other person never apologizes?
In ourselves, yes, it can, absolutely, and it's a very, very difficult lesson. But forgiveness is very important. And it can change your life, because if something horrible has happened to you or something else to somebody or whatever it is, and you go around with that and that hatred or not forgiving is affecting you. It's not necessarily affecting other people. So it's good to forgive, but it's a very hard, tough lesson.
Yeah.
New question? Nope. Okay, Steve?
Yeah, if I can just 360 this and go to your artwork for a minute. Before all of this started happening to you about 20 years ago, and you're meeting with Aldo and everything, you could not draw a straight line with a ruler. And then you were told in one of your astral projections that you get some crayons and start drawing, and then you evolved from there. At first it was a little juvenile, and but then you were drawing things from periods in past lives, and then it became a very great style of yours, and you had different themes, from alien type drawings to Picasso type drawings, paintings. So what led you to those different?
I had to do it. It was something pushing me. I did not know I was drawing from past lives. And even when Aldo would tell me and explain, look at it, you'll see these things, on the internet somewhere. It was something in me. It didn't even make me think about it. I just had to, I couldn't control it, truthfully. I think about it because he happened to be, at that time, he was in my house at that time. And he'd have to, I was still working though, I still went to work, but I'd come home or my days off, he'd have to knock on the door and say, you haven't eaten for 10 hours. So it was out of my, I'm going to say I was slightly out of control with it because I couldn't stop. However, it was messages because I was actually meditating, so I was learning more and more too, without, as I was learning.
And while Aldo was still here, you would do a painting, and then he would take it in a room for 4 or 5 hours and analyze it and come back and tell you what it meant.
Exactly.
And
yes, he did.
But after he was gone, then you seemed to reverse course or change courses and go to a different, very, very colorful,
totally different. Well,
totally
I call one
different
was
style.
sketches, which I sketched for many years because it was not only in black and white, I was doing it with crayons, and then it took a different kind of theme because then I started to paint with acrylic, which was still intricate in a lot of ways, but it wasn't quite the same because I was getting to a different phase in my journey. And that you can see actually, which I don't often mention the book other than the beginning and the end, but I do have that progression in my book because I have the artwork there up until the time that I had that printed, and I have the very beginning where I was drawing from past lives that I had no idea that even existed.
Yes, and just for your audience to know, if you get the regular copy of Sally's book, you'll see some artwork in it. The online is just words.
Well,
Not just words, great words.
No, where he does his interpretation, since you mentioned that, yes, he used to go into his own room after he'd look at my sketches. It wasn't so much my paintings, it's ones I have some in my book, and he would interpret a lot of that. Yeah, and it's not, it's a story that I want to get out there for the fame and fortune of anything, but to show people that anything is possible. My story, I'm not going to say I'm unique, but what happened to me in the situation, having my actual guide, who obviously he was my guide, he knew me before I knew him and knew where I was, to show people, to open them up to the fact that anything is possible. I had these things happen to me when I was in other lifetimes with him, but I didn't know him when he came into here. Difference is he knew who I was, but never woke me up, so to speak, until I actually had my first astral projection. He knew then that I was open to something greater than what we are, to experience something greater than just what we have in this 3D world. And I believe anybody, first of all, anybody can do this, but secondly, when you do it, you are never quite the same again. Because even if you don't open up the world to a whole lot of different things, you're something beyond just your journey here. There is something more in you, that you can travel, that you can leave your body, that there's life after death. There's so many things that came to me. And as he would say, little by little, which that lady was talking about, we're talking about the afterlife. Do I believe it? Yes, when you talk about my daughter, obviously tears come to my eyes. But with anybody, I know that they're okay. So I have a different slant. I'm upset, especially when you lose a member of your family. Of course you're upset. But my thought process has taken me a little bit more now into understanding so much more that people communicate. Not just me. How do psychics always get the names and places of people? These things exist. And that's what my journey is about today. Not necessarily all the artwork that I've done, but some of the artwork that I did in the beginning has such a deeper meaning for people if they understand my story. Because I didn't know these things in my mind in this world today existed, and yet I'm drawing things that were here in the history books. Where was I getting that from? I'm getting it from past life memories. But anybody Anybody, if you open up, can do this. Absolutely, 100%. It took knocking me, so to speak, and I say that on the head for me to say to myself, oh my gosh, what am I doing? But we can all do it.
Sally, I want to tell you that what Spirit has been whispering me the whole time we've been talking about your art is those are activations.
Oh, okay.
You've been drawing and painting activations for those who are
I'm getting
inclined to
this-
lean towards that. So you've left a legacy as well as breadcrumbs for those who resonate with your art to receive whatever underlying coding that was placed in
That's-
that art.
Thank you, Wendy.
You're so welcome.
I have a book at home just with the sketches, which I'd love you to look at. It's not my artwork the same as this. And I've often, because I'm coming to the latter part of my life, I know my age, so I understanding that, but I have such a deep feeling now to carry this on to, it's
your
not
legacy.
necessary, I was just going to say, it's not to the next, yes, to learn, we all learn, and I never want to stop learning in this life and the next and where we go too. But I need to show more of what we all can do. I'm lucky that I guess it was my time to have experienced what I did and have Aldo come into my life. But so many people are suffering and hurting so badly just to know that there's a light at the end of this tunnel. And I feel now that my duty, no matter what happens in my life today, I cannot let it disturb where I'm going. And I
1000%.
mentioned that to Steve too, maybe not quite the same way, but I have to put, it's myself first, in order to help a lot of people. And anybody like me or like you or the people that we meet here, Dawn and Freddie, everybody, you're helping everybody. They're going on the airways. I feel that so strongly today, and I'm feeling it more strongly than I ever have right now, sitting here with you telling me that it's not an obligation, it's a choice. It's a choice that I made, and it's a choice that I will continue. And
And you're
again,
showing
anybody that may want my book or may just want to speak to me, but we may have questions about my book, I am here every Monday live. You can get everything else, which is now on YouTube. And it's not something I normally can, I have to get you to say that, but I think we're coming to the end shortly, but not the end of my life, the end of my show. That YouTube, pick up any of the shows even from the past, and how I become stronger, I think, even with my show here, because it's not just answering questions, I'm learning as this goes on. And it's something I have innate in me today to continue to do that.
Another
Thank you for
question.
opening up that door.
You're
You just
welcome.
did.
What daily habits do you notice in people who consistently radiate positivity and resilience?
The daily habits are that they're maybe talking to themselves that they can do this and they can do that, and they won't fall into the journey of going down further. And if something is bad, yes, we have to say maybe, in our head, but we're not verbalizing, which goes back to words. We're having a bad day, but, give yourself the challenge. I am having a good day, and just see the difference. And they radiate that, Dawn. People that are positive have something about them. They radiate. And people are drawn to that person,
They try to lift other
Yes,
people up,
they,
too.
absolutely.
How do we become more intentional about the energy we bring into our homes, workplaces, or even the communities at large?
Awareness again. If you're aware, and you're aware of a situation, and if you bring it into your home, no matter what it is, if it's a negative situation, it's a feeling. You can sense. I'm not saying don't go near negative people because they can be hurting and whatever, but you have to form a protection around yourself too, and you can only take what you can take. So I can't say step away from every negative situation, because that's not living. It comes, but look at it differently, have that awareness, and it won't affect you as badly as it could.
Okay.
I just
Any
have
other questions?
One more thing that I would like to say to you, Sally, and I don't know if I make you feel this way all the time, but just having the opportunity to walk hand in hand with you through life, you have no idea what it has done for me on a spiritual and everyday living basis, where I've been able to learn and go from the mundane life that I lived, which was sports and food, to spirituality and loving. And so I really thank you for being you.
And thank you. And as Alda would say, little by little, you've started your journey. Okay, thank you very much for that. I have no words, but thank you. And the gratitude for what you just expressed is very deep.
Look at that, I had the ability to shut her up.
And there you go. All right, so you can watch Call Me Zena with Sally Bernard every Monday right here on Call Me Zena at 2:30 p.m. You can get her book at Author House and Amazon.com. And follow her on YouTube because the numbers grow and the shows stay.
Thank you. Yes, YouTube. That's a good idea. Okay, I got very sentimental now from all of this. Bye-bye. I'll see everybody next week. Bye-bye.
You have been watching Call Me Zena with your host, Sally Bernard. As an artist, author, and spiritual experiencer, know that you can always seek me out for resources by visiting artbysallybernard.com. Join us next week, Mondays at 2:30. Have a blessed day.